all, and welcome to this. And it's been forever since I've done this. Um, it's weird because I had actually had plans to do a lot of videos, and just didn't happen. Just didn't happen. Life got in the way. Didn't happen. Um, because there is so much wrestling on TV now, and some of it's not WWE, which I do not watch. But there was a lot I wanted to talk about. It's been like a week since I wanted to talk about a lot of this stuff. I wanted to start with the Observer Awards because that was crazy, and then kind of the fallout because that's what was really crazy, and then a bunch of AEW stuff too, and just whatever comes to my mind. Again, there's no script, there's no notes, there's no nothing, as there usually is, and so I'm just going to ramble a little bit. We'll see the 100, 200 people that watch this if they enjoy it. Whatever. Maybe more people will come across it because I'll put Observer Awards in it, and people rant, and people will think I'm, hating on Dave, which I am not. I think the Observer Awards, I find it funny. So if you've been living under a rock and you're a pro wrestling fan, or you don't know what the Observer Awards are, or just come across this and you're like, what the hell is he talking about? So Dave Meltzer, Wrestling Observer newsletter, who if you're on the internet, you probably have at least heard of him. Every year he asks his readers to basically vote for a bunch of categories, for a bunch of stuff. And the fans basically vote. They say who they think is the best, and there you go. And so this year, to say AEW dominated would be a vast understatement. They completely destroyed everybody, and everyone got upset because, oh my God, it's because Dave is, in bed with AEW. He's, friends with the Bucks. They pay him. He's the whole website is in, Tony Khan's pocket, blah, 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 blah. The thing is, if you actually listen to Dave, if you actually follow Dave, you know that in truth, as far as match quality goes, he probably really likes NXT better, in that term, than AEW. But here's the thing. This year is a weird year, or the last year was a weird year. This year will probably be a weird year too. When it comes to pro wrestling. Why? Because you had COVID, and you had places shut down. You had people not putting on shows. They were putting on shows. They had no fans. You had all sorts of weird stuff, and everyone's trying to figure out how to make everything work. Of every promotion in the world, except maybe one other, and I'll get to that. As far as entertainment goes, not as far as doing it the correct way. I think if you're going to look at a promotion that has done it the right way, continued done it the right way, even to their detriment, as far as handling everything, it would be ROH. And if you watch ROH, it's very stale. It's very, or I shouldn't say stale. It's very sterile. I think the booking's really good. If you followed, from Final Battle till now, I think there was a lot of good storylines, especially when you realize that they're trying to use the least amount of talent as they can because of the bubble that they use and all the stuff and the way they're being safe and all of that stuff. But there's a detriment. They can't use New Japan guys. They can't, wouldn't be able to. But they can't even use the New Japan, U.S. guys, like the New Japan Strong guys. They can't even use those. A lot of those guys, even though the Strong uses a lot of their guys. But there's a lot of that. And with Roosh and with the, with the Foundation and all of that, I think there's lots of good stuff there. But it's so sterile that it just comes off bad. So there's that, and then you have AEW, and AEW from an entertainment way figured out really quick, okay, we can't have no fans, so we'll just put the wrestlers, and then eventually they moved to Daly's Place, and then they had fans, and it helped. I mean, it was outside, helped, made everything better, made the shows better, much the same way with WWE, from what I understand. Don't watch WWE, so can't tell you. The whatever dome, the Terror Dome, or whatever they call it, has helped with the screens and the fans, even though it's all piped in and it's all kind of weird. But there's that, right? But AEW handled it better, and they were also booked better. Where normally you would have like New Japan. New Japan historically does over the last 10 years has done really well in the Observer Awards. They didn't this year because there weren't enough fans. The booking was a little off. You couldn't tell what was actually working and what wasn't because, of course, they're in Japan and they're going to do the Japanese fans and there's stuff that we see that we don't like and we're like, okay, is it actually working there? We can't tell, so it's hard to judge. And so New Japan had an off year. New Japan had a year that was not up to its normal standard, so it dropped. Everybody dropped. And you had people go absolutely nuts because the only company that really didn't drop the most and really handled everything the best was AEW, and so AEW basically just ran away with everything. Did they probably a little too much? Maybe. Is that because Dave harps on them so much? I don't think so. I mean, especially if you're a WWE fan, if you're WWE, you're like, oh, there's not enough WWE stuff on here. What the? I don't watch WWE, and I can tell you it's horrible. Even a lot of people that watch it will tell you it's the dog shits. If I'm not watching WWE, and the only other time I have not watched WWE was 94-ish, probably 94 to 96-ish, and it wasn't even that I didn't watch. I just didn't watch a lot. I would come in every once in a while, maybe stick my feet in, see if I liked something, that sort of thing. I have not watched WWE in 3 years. That includes NXT. That includes NXT UK. The only thing I've seen is I watched that Walter match. That's the only thing I have seen because everyone was like, oh my God, that match. So I actually watched that match. That was it. And that sucks because there's a lot of people in WWE that I like, but I can't stand them in WWE, so I don't watch. So for people to come in and be all like, well, WWE should have done better. Oh, this is stupid. This is, Dave, without actually taking the landscape of pro wrestling and really looking at it and going, oh, yeah, that does actually kind of make sense when you look at the whole thing. You had people from websites that, copy and paste from Dave, basically ripping on Dave, saying, oh, what do you expect? This Dave Meltzer, blah, 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 that this is ridiculous. There's no way this should be. The awards even mean anything because look how landslide it is, and that's kind of dumb. What the fuck ever. This is what I would ask anyone that runs or anyone that considers themselves a wrestling journalist, right? And there's a lot of those people. A lot of those people aren't wrestling journalists. You know what they are? They are people who run a fan page. Or they are people who are, and that's all they are. They just run fan pages. They don't actually are news people. Because if you were a wrestling journalist, you should be able to do what I'm about to ask you. Fairly simple, I would think. Fairly. Give me the top 10 promotions in the world, in your opinion. Cannot include NXT or NXT UK because they are WWE. Now, if that means that Stardom gets thrown out because them and New Japan are basically owned by the same people, I'm fine with that. If you want to do the same thing with Noah and DDT, I'm fine with that too. Give me 10. Should be easy because the first 7 should be bop, 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 bop. There might be a little bit of ink, and you can even go from which is probably what you really need to do, pre-COVID stuff, so that you can go, okay, well, this is what everyone was drawing. Maybe they wouldn't do that now, but that's probably the fairest way to do it. Guess what? Most people could not do that. Why? Because they're going to throw in Impact. They're going to throw in MLW. I have nothing against either of those two companies, but honestly, in the grand scheme of things, don't think so. You're talking WWE. They're, no matter what, no matter how bad the product is, they are still the number 1 promotion in the world. There is no question about that. Then you have New Japan. They are number 2. I don't think there's any question about that. You get to number 3, I would say that's probably still CMLL. I think that once you have fans back, that probably won't be the case, but right now we'll say that's the case, right? Then you have AAA. AAA is probably still the number 4. It's probably not AEW, but you could put AEW there too. Think about that. Think about what I just said. The number 2 promotion, without question, in the U.S. is probably the number 4 or 5 promotion in the world. I would imagine most of these people that run these fan sites that disguise themselves as news sites couldn't even tell you that, right? So then you have, like I said, you could put AAA, you could put right there, right? Then you get, let's see where we're at WWE, New Japan, AAA, or CMLL, AAA, AEW. After that, you have 6. Then you have Dragon Gate. Any fans were going to bitch about the Observer Awards, and they should every single year. It's Dragon Gate, because Dragon Gate always gets like under. Dragon Gate is probably quality-wise, probably the second or third best promotion in the world, but not enough people watch it. I understand that. It's hard for me to stay up with it because I just get burnt out on it because, first of all, it's like probably my 4th favorite promotion in the world, and I get really burnt out on the style, and it's just it's that promotion that you just kind of forget about and you don't follow as much as you'd want. That's Dragon Gate. All right? They do an excellent job with what they do, but there you go. Okay, so 6, we have Dragon Gate. Okay, that leaves you 4 promotions left in the world. That gets a little like funky because now you're talking about stuff like Noah. You're talking about stuff like maybe Impact. You're talking about stuff like DDT, maybe. You're talking about stuff like All Japan. Maybe one of the larger indies. That's what you're talking about. I can understand if you have problems, but you should still be able to come up with 10. That shouldn't be too hard, I wouldn't think. And I doubt most of these people who bitch and complain and argue and say that Dave doesn't know what he's talking about couldn't do that. You know, I mean, what would you change as far as the winners? I'm not talking about like the rest of it because I understand that maybe that's a little but as far as the winners, what would you change? What would you change in the Observer Awards? I mean, really, if it's quite crazy when you really think about it, because it doesn't make much sense. Because it should just be, I mean, if we step back and we go, that's the way the wrestling landscape is right now, as we see it. I don't understand how that much of it can change. I don't understand why it is such a big, crazy thing to have. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get the craziness of it. I don't get why people get so upset about it. Yes, it's Dave's. It's the wrestling newsletter readers, but forever it was this was considered like the awards that most people like followed because it was the ones that made the most sense because the people who voted for it were considered people who pretty much followed wrestling hardcore and really kind of understood and took it kind of seriously. I would love to, and I have still yet to hear a really good argument of why, this year's awards were such a just like, I don't know, like craziness because it's just, it's insane to me that people think that because it's like, if you go through the awards, all right, if you if you really go through the awards and you go, okay, here's everything that we're gonna do. Here's everything that should take place, right? All of kind of that sort of thing, and where everything should fall. It's kind of like what should change because Wrestler of the Year, who really had the best year this year as far as just overall year? It would probably be Jon Moxley. I wouldn't say it was Drew McIntyre because I personally, if you eat, there's nothing about Drew McIntyre. Yes, I don't watch WWE, but there's nothing about Drew McIntyre that makes me go, I want to watch WWE either. That makes me go, oh man, you know what? I should be watching WWE. Roman Reigns, maybe you make that case, but he was only around for like half the year, and he was, and that was about it, right? I would say, but so, you could say, Kenny Omega was on this list, Naito was on this list, Ibushi was on this list, Bailey was on this list for all the people that like, oh, where's the WWE people? There were three WWE people on this list out of 10, out of all the promotions in the world. Out of like guys like Go, who had an incredible year. You had, like John Moxley won, but you had Kenny Omega, you had Naito, you had Bushi. Really, we're gonna get upset about that? I mean, I don't understand it. I really don't get it. And then people got all mad because it was like, oh well, Tony Khan won Booker of the Year. Who the fuck else is going to win Booker of the Year? Who? Give me somebody. Give me somebody else. Because, like I said, they were the only promotion to be consistently good all year. They were it. I'm not saying that they hit everything out of the park, because they didn't hit everything out of the park. Not everything was good. Not every Dynamite was like a home run. Not even every pay-per-view was, I would say, would be that way. But they were the only company that was consistently good from the start of the year to the end of the year. So them dominating shouldn't really be that big of a surprise because of that. And Tony Khan winning Promoter of the Year shouldn't really surprise a lot of people for that. Or Booker of the Year shouldn't surprise a lot of people. And then I saw people go, oh, Vince McMahon hasn't won Booker of the Year since 2001. Yes, but then while employed by Vince McMahon, Jim Cornette, I believe, won it twice. Paul Heyman won it, I believe, twice. And in 2016, Triple H won it. All while working for WWE. Yeah, it wasn't Vince McMahon, but all for working for WWE. So it wasn't like the fans were like the fans were consistently like not liking WWE. It's the fact that WWE sucks so bad right now, and they are so horrible that there was just, and if you look at like the most underrated, worst TV show, worst announcers, all of that crap, WWE completely dominated that. Why? Because it's bad. And fans are finding like, this is bad, and this has been bad for a long time. And you're starting to see that, and you're starting to understand that. And then, right, then you get Tony Khan can't be Booker of the Year because look how he books the women. Okay, let's look at how he booked the women this past year. They had a plan. COVID happened. Most of the people that followed that plan, so plan A, went bye-bye. That can't be that. Then it was like, okay, so we'll go to plan B. Plan B got hurt. Go to plan C. Plan C got hurt. We'll go to plan D. I'm pretty sure plan D got hurt too. And so then you're left with pretty much nothing. You basically have a bunch of super green women who entertaining but green, which means you can't just put them out on TV every week and pray for the best. Because all you're doing then is you're setting them up for failure. You have to groom them, then put them on Dynamite, you put them on Dark, and then you put them on Dynamite, and then you see how it goes. And that takes patience, and people don't have patience. And also, this is like the women is the easiest thing to dunk on AEW for, so that's what people dunk on them for, refusing to acknowledge that when you actually look at everything revolving around the women and how they've handled the women, they actually have done a really good job, because they can't just push them to the moon. They can't just like feature them a bunch of people who aren't ready to be featured, right? You can't do that. So, I mean, that's like wishful, like crazy thinking, in my opinion. You have to kind of just go with it. And then it's finally like, you know what? Well, we found a way to actually help the women. We found a way to actually like do something with the women with the tournament, and people bitched. And people were like, well, why are you doing this? And then we get to the finals, and people bitch again because they're like, oh, it's Sheeta, who has been a weak champion and we don't see all the time, and blah 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 blah, and hasn't been book strong, and versus someone who really isn't on the roster. No, instead of Thunder Rosa, and it's like Thunder Rosa's not even signed, so she's technically not on the roster either. The only reason they really have her, the only reason they have Serena Deeb is because they needed people that actually knew what they were doing, so that they could put the people that they have in the ring with people who actually knew what they were doing, so the people that they have can get better. I don't understand this. I don't understand why this is such a wacky thing about the women. And then, after all of that, after people gripped and bitched, then we find out that NBC Universal, and let's make this clear, NBC Universal said, we're moving NXT. We're moving NXT to Tuesday because it will do better, and we're going to put hockey on Wednesdays because it will do better against AEW. That's why they did it. So it wasn't like WWE throwing in the towel, because I don't think they ever would have thrown it in the towel. It was NBC Universal really kind of doing what they should have done the whole time and moving it to Tuesdays. Be better for both shows. I don't expect all of a sudden AEW to all of a sudden get to like 1.4 million. I don't expect NXT to get to 1.4 million. I would be shocked if AEW doesn't get to 1 million or somewhere around 1 million on a normal basis. They should definitely do that. I would expect AEW to probably, or NXT to do much better than they have been doing. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to NXT, and people don't want to admit this, NXT is stale as shit. Everyone I talk to says the exact same thing, and it doesn't surprise me because the same people have been there for what, like 4 years now. You know, the idea, and here's the other thing. NXT, I'm going to say this and people are going to get mad. Complete and utter failure. Okay? We're supposed to be developmental. Who have they developed? Honestly, who have they developed? They've developed 2 people, right? Well, maybe 3 if you want to include Bray Wyatt. So Bray Wyatt, Charlotte, and Roman Reigns. Pretty much everyone else that has come through there and gone on to the main roster to be a star were already pretty much there and could have went to the main roster the day they were signed, but they were like, no, you got to go to NXT and we have to teach you how to wrestle our way. So that's pretty much it. And it's been not good. And so, and then while that was going on, then it was, okay, well, now we're going to use NXT to sign up all of the talent to stop ROH. That didn't work. Then it was, we're going to sign up all the talent to stop AEW. That didn't work. Now we're going to put NXT, yes, it was already on Wednesday, but we're going to put on network television directly against live, directly against AEW, and that failed. It has failed on every single thing it was supposed to do. It is a failure. I don't understand how anyone can see anything other than that it is a failure. Yes, at one time it was enjoyable, but now we're to the point where it's just stale, and it's just this other part of WWE, and people don't even want people to leave NXT because they're afraid of what's going to happen to them when they go to the main roster. And that includes the talent themselves, and that's no good. That's just absolutely wretched. That said, right, I'm doing this on like Wednesday night, and AEW just ended a little while ago, and it was really good, and it was awesome. It was a go-home show for Revolution, and it was great. And we actually had Onita on TV. I'm going to steal a line from Nightmare Baller 1 on Twitter, where he basically said Tony Khan is living out his tape trading fantasy dream because he's doing a freaking exploding barbed wire death match. And he had Onita on his television talking up the freaking barbed wire exploding death match. What the fuck? What are they? And then on top of that, we have Tully Blanchard at 70 whatever year old come out for a match when it's like, okay, we all kind of know what was going on. It's going to be him and Marco for the most part. And he basically busts his ass. He comes out in his robe. He comes out strutting. He comes out with the U.S. title. He comes out with J.J. Dillon. And it's like, holy fuck. And it's like, we didn't know this, but Crockett had passed away. What a fit, I can't think of a better fitting tribute than that, but that's what AEW does. AEW for the most part, does things the right way. And because they do things the right way, they get, the benefit of the doubt from people like me and other people as well. And it's crazy. And it's crazy just as I do not understand people. I just don't. And of course now NXT moving to Tuesdays, people are like, oh, that's going to affect Impact. Oh my God. Look, if Impact went out of business, it would suck for the wrestlers. But is there a fan out there that would miss Impact at all if it went away? I mean, really? They haven't done anything since they were turned into Impact. In my opinion, they haven't done a thing. They've got a fairly good roster that they should be able to do more with, and they don't. And it's not good. And I don't understand it. And I don't understand. I do understand the Dave hate because there's money to be made in Dave hate. And I also understand that you have people who will hate on Dave because they feel like it's going to get them in better with WWE and maybe get them a job. And if you don't think that's the truth, Ryan Satin is a really good example of that being the truth. But anyways, I guess I'm done. I have things I have to do. So, yeah, that's all I just wanted to say. I think it's all kind of crazy and nuts and absolutely Looney Tunes, the Observer stuff. Looking very forward. Actually, I'm curious how we're going to get the exploding barbed wire death match, because if it's the real thing, it's going to be insane. And it makes me think that at some point they're going to bring Onita over and he's going to be the ref and they're going to do the exploding cage match, and that will be even more insane. But yeah, and Paul White shows up and then he says he's got somebody else coming up. A lot of people think it might be Mark Henry. Some people think it might be CM Punk. Who knows who the fuck it's going to be, but I guess more people are coming. So that's interesting too. Shaq disappeared though. That was a little weird. I'm not going to lie. That was some funky stuff that I don't understand. But anyways, I'm out. Have a good one. Later.